Now, your host, Ken Brew, on News Radio 700 WLW.
Step right up, come right in. It's the Craftsman Electric Saturday afternoon extravaganza. Craftsman Electric, craftsmanship. It is in their name. Well, stand by because they are coming back. They're making a huge comeback. They're going to be here again, and you are going to be absolutely astounded by it. No, not the Beatles. If they came back, we'd have a major story. No. We are talking about masks. They're coming back. Los Angeles County first. Of course, all the great things start in Los Angeles, don't they? And then San Francisco. And now Missouri is talking about it. Bringing back masks. And why? Because there is a new variant of the coronavirus called the Delta variant. And the Delta variant is a very lethal strain of the coronavirus, or so we're told. And the Delta variant is running rampant because a lot of you, maybe not you, but a lot of you are not vaccinated. In fact, less than half of this country is vaccinated. In fact, vaccinations on Friday reached an all-time low since the start of vaccinations back in January. And why so? Why is it that people don't want to get vaccinated? Why is it that they're ignoring these pleas that we hear all the time on television and radio stations like this? Doctors telling you should get vaccinated, elected officials telling you should get vaccinated. It's reached, as they say in the radio and TV business, a stone wall. It has hit the bricks. Why so? Why is it that people simply don't want to get vaccinated? Well, it could be religious beliefs. It could be the fact that, for whatever reason, they don't feel that this particular vaccine is effective because this particular vaccine, be it the Pfizer, the Moderna, the J&J, or God forbid the AstraZeneca, is just not effective enough, and that it hasn't been researched enough, and that it's been rushed through. And that really it started with that most evil of persons, Donald Trump. Why is it people don't want to get vaccinated? And why is it that these masks are coming back? Is it because the government is kicking and screaming now because we, you, whomever is not vaccinated, is not adhering to their message? Could this be like the fourth grader who inadvertently let out a burp in class, and the teacher wants to know who let out the burp, and nobody wants to admit to it, and so the teacher said, well, you're all going to get punished. And that's what's happening. Even if you've had the vaccine, when you were told, by the way, that if you got the vaccine, you wouldn't have to wear a mask. You wouldn't have to social distance. You could begin leading your life just as you led it before the pandemic. Why is it now that if you've already been vaccinated, you have to mask up? Oh, and by the way, if you've already been vaccinated, why are you laying in a hospital right now? Because you got the vaccination. Why is it that Dr. Fauci, Lord Fauci, Emperor Fauci, he, the guardian of all that is great and true in medicine, why is he saying get the vaccination because it's something that will fight the Delta variant? Well, if that's the case, why are people lying in a hospital bed right now? Because they've gotten the vaccination and because they've somehow contracted COVID again. All of this goes back to the root of what I say is the problem with this, that at the beginning and all through this entire pandemic, scientists really didn't know what was going on, but yet we were kept told to do things, kept being told to do things. You must do this. You must mask up. You must social distance. You must get the vaccination. It's very, very frustrating. And if you can hear the frustration in my voice, good. We have on Todd Furniss a lot because Todd knows all that is going on in medicine right now. Not necessarily what's going on with the coronavirus, but he knows what is completely screwed up the medical profession and healthcare in this country. You need to get his book and you need to read it. It's called The 60% Solution. It will be eye-opening and illuminating. But I wanted to get Todd on today to talk about where all of this is going in the country, because it sounds like it's all going back to where it was in March and April of 2020. And is it just because the government is frustrated that no one is listening to them? And if it's all about the Delta variant, then why are people with COVID vaccinations winding up in the hospital with the COVID variant known as the Delta variant? So let's bring them on in. Todd Furniss, how are you on this glorious day?
I am doing dandy, Ken. Good to talk to you this morning.
I'm glad you're with me. I have, I am not denying that COVID, nor are you, and I don't think anybody who is level-headed is denying that COVID is a problem. We know it is a problem that has killed people. We were also told the vaccinations were supposed to take care of you, me, anybody that got it, and we would go back to living our lives without masks, without social distancing, and all of that nonsense. And now, all of a sudden, it's coming back, and it's coming back even for vaccinated people. In fact, it's coming back, according to a JMA pediatric study, it's coming back and being recommended for anybody over the age of 2, mask wearing. What's going on here?
Well, we're getting so many confusing signals from not only the media but also from science, and most problematically is the administration, quite honestly. The New England Journal of Medicine came out and said that the efficacy of the vaccines is about the same with the Delta virus in preventing the Delta variant as it is the Alpha variant. So what that means is if you've been vaccinated fully, whether it's Moderna, Pfizer, J&J, then you're just as likely to be protected against the Alpha and the Delta variant. So then the question becomes, well, why then are we having the problem? And what it really is the problem? The problem is what we're seeing from healthcare administrators, from those who have not been fully vaccinated, because what happens is that if you've only been partially vaccinated, meaning you've only had the first shot, then you're more susceptible to the Delta variant than you would be if you've been fully vaccinated. The efficacy rate is somewhere between 35 and 40% if you've only been vaccinated once. So obviously the odds turn against you if you've only been vaccinated once, and you have to have there's a 2-dosage requirement. So that's a problem. And according to the CDC, we've got 161 million people as of 2 days ago who've been fully vaccinated. So you've got a situation where we're making a bunch of policy decisions based on limited information, and the policy itself doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And that's why you see people like the L.A. County Sheriff saying to the healthcare folks in L.A., I'm not going to enforce this because it doesn't stand up. First of all, I don't have the resources to do it because you defunded me. And second of all, I'm not going to do it because it's not supported by science.
Yeah, here's what I think. And again, my position has always been that nobody knew what the hell was going on a year ago this past January, and so they began making things up. They began making answers up. And then as the research into what was going on became more evident, then they were making decisions based more than often than not on fear, all the while trying to get some sort of answer to this pushed through the pipeline, which would be a vaccine for all of us. But this goes back to kind of making things up. It's like, okay, I've been vaccinated, and you're going to tell me that if I live in L.A. or San Francisco, and trust me, any state that sees a wide outbreak of this is going to have the same reaction from that governor, regardless of whether he's a Republican or Democrat, is, okay, let's go back to the masks, because that's what happened back in January, February, and March of last year. Well, February and March of last year. And that's what I fear here. It's like, we don't know what's going on. We won't tell you we don't know what's going on, so put a mask on. That's what it sounds like.
Well, I think you're spot on, and I've got some. This is going to sound like a strange pivot, perhaps, but bear with me for a second. So I've got some great news for you, Ken. I had a granddaughter on Tuesday.
Oh, congratulations! Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, well, that's great. That's great. Seriously, that's wonderful.
Thank you. Now, my son-in-law has already had COVID, and he got the vaccine because even though he already had COVID, they weren't going to let him in the hospital unless he either got the vaccine or got tested every single day.
What state was this? What state was this?
I want to see my baby, so I'm going to get the vaccination because pragmatism rules over the standing. So I applaud my son-in-law for doing that, but it just kind of goes to show you that some of these protocols and some of these policies are taken to such extremes that they don't necessarily bear a direct correlation to the facts and the science. So what happened a year ago is we made the mistake as a nation of saying we're going to entrust the medical research community, who are designed to frame risk, not to create policy. Their job is to tell us what the risks are.
Right.
And then what we did is we invested them with the power to make policy. And then what happened, which is a conflict of interest. And then what we did is rather than we trusted them to when they should have been saying, look, we don't really know everything that's going on, but we're going to learn together, and we may make some mistakes, but we're going to do the best we can. Instead of going that route, they said, we know what's going on. And then they gave us a bunch of information that wasn't really as clear and consistent as we would have liked.
Yeah.
And so as a result of that, we now stand in a world where we're operating, as you correctly pointed out, in a culture of fear. We don't know who we can trust. We're anxious about what the protocols are and what we have to do, and we're faced with this increasingly aggressive government that's now going door to door and knocking on people's doors. Say, "Have you been vaccinated? Let me vaccinate you now."
Yeah.
And you feel pressured, and that's not a good thing. That's a very, very frightening thing for people across the country.
Well, let's just examine just the practicality of all of this. Over 50% of this country has not been fully vaccinated. We know that. And there is an even sizable number of people that haven't been vaccinated at all. And they've seen the numbers. They know who are dying. They watched it with, grief and disbelief all through the summer of 2020. Well, if they haven't been vaccinated after seeing all of that, why would they be vaccinated now, knowing that even if they are in some places, and it would appear to be this is just the start, even if you are vaccinated, you still have to have the same standards that you had back in March and April of 2020. It makes no sense. This is the carrot in front of the horse is gone if you do something like that.
Well, let me challenge you a little bit on the numbers. According to CDC, 161 million people have been vaccinated. So over 12, they're saying now that 56% of all people over 12 have been fully vaccinated. So that's the latest number. Those are the latest numbers as of this morning that I saw. So, but nonetheless, we're close to being half the country. And your points are still well made. My question is a little bit different, though, because I would assert that, add to that 10% of the people, as we've discussed, 10% of the people have also had COVID, and then another 10% of the people have natural immunities, and we got 20% of the population, which are women of childbearing age, who probably shouldn't get vaccinated because we don't know what's going to happen to them in maternity. So that doesn't leave as much of a population as you would think. You still got probably 10% of the population, maybe 20% of the population that has not been fully vaccinated, who have not had COVID, and who are not women, who maybe should get vaccinated or should have the right to elect to get vaccinated. But it's their risk. They should be the ones make that determination for themselves.
But we're talking with Todd Furniss. His book, The 60% Solution, is a great read on just the sad state of healthcare in this country and a roadmap out of it to better healthcare here for us in the United States. Okay, so then what's the end game here, do you think, for the government? Because the end game can't possibly be we're going to get 100% people vaccinated, and I think there's a great dismissal of the fact that you've already had it. You have antibodies. Nobody seems to want to. We have, but nobody seems to want to address that to any great robust. So what's the end game here? Where's this going? If indeed this Delta variant is here, and indeed it can attack you if you haven't been vaccinated, and if you have been vaccinated, there are people that are in the hospital that have been vaccinated. They've fallen victim to this. It's certainly not as virile as the original, the alpha version of COVID. Where are we going? There's a Delta this year. Next year there could be a Centurion. The year after that there could be, where are we going? Because it sounds like where we're going with this is that the government wants to get us in a mind frame to always wear masks whenever there seems to be some sort of hysteria breaking out.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Ken. And what I worry about is, if you think about it, one could assert if the question is we want to eliminate all risk of any disease ever propagating, ever, then why haven't masks always been worn? Why haven't we always done this as a country?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I fear is we have two. I think we have two outcomes as possible. Well, maybe three, but certainly one is we look as a country a lot like the residents of downtown Tokyo who wear masks all the time because the air quality is poor. Or alternatively, we follow the model where we say, hey, which states have done well? First of all, is this a federal government level question? And the answer is likely no. And we've seen a lot of evidence as to why states need to act differently for a whole bunch of reasons. So it ought to be a states' rights question. Then we ought to look to governors and say, okay, which governors have done well and which states have done best? And then say to those states, okay, what are you doing that's working and what are you doing that's not working if it's not going well? And have the freedom at the state level to make good decisions for the people who live in that state. And then what we would have is a variety of answers based on what works. And as is always the case in a free market of ideas, is the best ideas will win. The best solutions, the best policies will win. And I'm hopeful that we take that course as opposed to taking the former course where we are forever ensconced in a world of plexiglass dividers and masks indoors.
Sure, because that's control. And when you're in government, the one thing you want is control, and this is a way to control people. Again, nobody is denying the fact that this is a real thing. What we're talking about here is messaging and motive, and I think both have to be suspect at this point. Todd, it's always great talk. Go ahead. I'll give you the last word.
Thank you. Well, I think that the more worrisome thing is when we talk about control, I actually look at it as the rights of the collective now seem to be more important than the rights of the individual. And that's really where it gets scary because it has a lot of domino effects throughout all of our culture, all of our legal system, all of our policy making, all of our economy, all of our political system. And that's very, very terrifying to me. We have to have the rights of the individual supreme, except for in certain circumstances where there's a compelling public policy reason for the alternative.
Yeah, 100% with you on that. Todd Furniss, you stay well. Congratulations on your grandchild. We'll talk down the road.
Thanks so much. Love being with you.